Pranam Babaji, my prostrations at the feet of Swamiji and Sri Babaji. Babaji, thank you for giving me this opportunity to ask the questions directly from you and hear the answers. I'm really blessed and fortunate for this opportunity. Thank you very much. Babaji, can I start the question?
Yes, yes.
Baba, my first question is about the mind. Today's topic, what I picked up, because I think it's one of my topic all the time, mind and the thoughts. So I want to ask Baba one thing, that you always mention that the mind is your conscious energy.
Yes.
And mind is your conscious energy, but this mind, which is my conscious energy, most of the time it's conscious only about my thoughts and my body and the things related to this body. So this conscious energy, which is, you say, is a consciousness, pure consciousness, how I can relate this consciousness being in the relative world?
First, we try to understand about consciousness or the mind. As I have always told, mind is a combination of consciousness and energy. Because of the presence of energy, mind is able to be creative and spinning. It imagines. Where a consciousness means wherever you apply your consciousness, you become aware of that thing. Like I've always told, when I'm talking, if you apply your mind or your consciousness or yourself, all the three are same, though it appears to be three different terminologies. You, consciousness you of yours, or your mind, all same. So when you are thinking, you come to be known as the mind. When you are quiet, you are that pure consciousness. Or eventually further, when we pursue and go, it is just the self, one single self that exists. Like that, mind is now consciousness and energy. So, but just now that consciousness is totally preoccupied with its own imagination. Whenever it had started the imagination, now it is unable to stop its imagination. Whereas you or your mind should be, when it needed, should be able to think. When it is not needed, should be able to keep quiet. But instead, if every one of you who have gathered here observe, you are unable to stop your mind. Constantly, it is like a chatterbox. It is into a movie. Thoughts, visions keep appearing. All these thoughts and visions appear in the mind because of mind's imagination only. So that is how it has lost its control. So that's what I always try to tell. So that when we meditate, you practice so that you can control yourself. That's what mind control means also. Means you can stop when you don't need to think. You should be able to think only when you need to think. So that is the idea, and that's what about self, yourself, your mind or your consciousness. They are all same.
So, Baba, when you say your consciousness, but mind all the time means it's all the time identify with the body and with the body's actions and its reflections. It's whatever comes through me, what I identify me as a Amba or Rekha, it only goes up to there. Means it comes first to me and mine, and it forgets that me also is this consciousness which is constantly, like you say, that you're searching for happiness. And as I am limited to myself, this unhappiness with the body. And so how one can go beyond this thing, that is this reminding yourself that I am not this body and mind complex only?
Yeah, by practice of meditation only you can achieve that. Just now, somewhere from time immemorial, when and how it happened, this mind or consciousness called yourself has got attached to the brain and its reflections so strongly, continuously, as long as the brain is alive. So it is always attaching itself, and whatever the imagination occurs, brain decodifies everything and shows as a thought or a vision. That's what I have tried to mention as brain's reflections. Watching those reflections, mind registers those reflections into itself as if that is a fundamental reality, and firmly believes, and thus becomes a victim of its brain's reflections. What it should have been is that brain should have been like a servant or like a computer, that you should have been able to use it. Instead, it is using now. Means it is making you to dance to its tune. Whatever it reflects, you are believing. So that is how the consciousness has shifted from itself to the body, thus giving you yourself as the physical body as yourself. You would always identify with a name or with any other imaginations, just like subtle bodies I have spoken, like I am Rekha, I am an Indian, I am a Hindu, I am a Christian, I am a businesswoman, I am a politician, whatever it is. Like that, it can be millions of imaginations and thoughts, all have sat into the subconscious state, firmly giving the idea. So thus it has lost consciousness of itself. It has forgotten about itself. Like I have told, watching the movie, you have forgotten that you are just watching the movie. Instead, you have identified yourself in the movie, becoming all the good, bad, panicking, excitement, happiness, unhappiness. Both are subjects of the cravings of the consciousness, which has become now as mind. That's what needs to be stopped, and then it shifts back to itself. Like if you stop the projector and the cinema is stopped, then your consciousness comes back. You will regain consciousness that you are just sitting and watching the movie. In the same way here, if you can stop this, that is the technique of the meditation, that you need to silence the mind first, important. Then automatically the consciousness shifts back to itself. Then you become aware of yourself as that eternal self, what it is known as. For this only Purushartha, self-effort, sadhana, efforts to achieve, like meditation, all these things you have to undertake and do it regularly.
Just now when you said that with the brain's reflections, because the brain, you said the mind catches the reflections of the brain, and with the brain's reflection, it identifies itself with the body. Is this the major cause, that the brain is the major cause of the ego, that because it reflects me as a me I am? But brain is such a organ which is like, we are blessed being as a human being that we got this brain. But at the same time, you says it gives, means, so what is the major culprit? It's my mind, which is all the time as a thoughts, or the brain? Means, so if I control my mind, is it possible that everything get purified and my brain also will reflect only good things?
Yeah. Now, when you talk of this point, we need to understand we shall not call the brain as a culprit. Simply, brain reflects. It's a biological organ. Just like the computer, whatever you program, it shows that one. Now you, as the consciousness, when become too much attached to the brain and its reflections, you become unable to control yourself, restrain yourself. Instead, you are always become addicted to the brain's reflections. That is what has happened. And that is the reason you have become a victim of your own weakness. Now you need to become strong, understand this, and then use the technique so that you become quiet again. You withdraw yourself and learn only when you need to use the brain. You need to be the master, and the brain can be a very good servant but a bad master. That's what you have to understand. Just like the car can be a very good servant for you if you use it. Otherwise, it is a bad master if you don't have brakes or gears or nothing is there, and you have started driving, you have pressed the accelerator. You can be disastrous for yourself. You can be dangerous for others also. That's why when you don't have control over yourself, any human being, always my teachings are not directed against any individual or group of individual. I would like to emphasize, any person who doesn't have control over one's own self has become a victim of the brain's reflections, can be disastrous to one's own self, can be dangerous to others, can be behaving in such a way. That's what has happened, particularly amongst humanity who have gone into such conflicts. Today, humanity is facing, majority of the humanity are feeling insecure and are going into conflict unnecessarily, and it appears as if humans have become bloodthirsty, thirst of each other, instead of helping each other, instead of considering each other, loving and caring each other. This is possible when you cleanse yourself, when you control yourself, when you just become quiet. Controlling means, instead of becoming chatterbox. That's what you have to practice. That's why we teach the technique in meditation. You just watch, don't think, don't get involved. That is necessary. By doing that, you can withdraw yourself and regain your own consciousness or awareness. Awareness, when there is no such definition is there, just the self is there. You become one with yourself. Because everything in this world or anywhere is all imagined terminologies for sake of understanding and communication. That need not be the true. So just now, as we have named ourselves as this body and have obtained the consciousness, that is where we have become narrow-minded, what we call. We consider ourselves only this body or belonging to this body, and we want to take care, look after the welfare of only this body, and for the welfare of this body, we become ready to do any wrong things, any corrupted thing. That's what humans have become, selfish and narrow-minded, instead of trying to live for each other. That's what I always dreamt since childhood. Why can't humanity live for each other instead of against each other? So that what has happened, but one can achieve it back. Like there is nothing wrong in a computer, but if you misuse it just for gossiping and wasting your energy and time, it's not the computer's fault. Whatever you program, whatever you work on it, the computer is ready. In the beginning, when the computers came, people thought as if God has incarnated on this earth. But ultimately, we need to realize we have to handle. We are the ones who have programmed this. So that is what. That's why if there is a start button, there is a shutdown button also has to be there always, like in the computer. Otherwise, it can be dangerous or disastrous unnecessarily. It can corrupt your mind. In the same way, our own consciousness also need to have the start button to think and the shutdown button when we don't have to think. We need to keep quiet. That is the practice of meditation, and it is possible for everybody. If only you can dedicate yourself, remain disciplined and have patience, understand the technique and practice in the right sense.
Baba, you often talk about mind and consciousness, and you say the ultimate truth of the mind is the divinity, is the God. So how you define, because everybody's concept about the God is totally different. But how you will define this divinity which is spread in all the directions? So is there a specific God, or the God does exist, or is it just a concept adopted by different people according to their different understanding and practice?
So now, just like the mind exists not as a personality but as an infinite form. What I mean by infinite form here, criteria is nobody has seen the mind in naked eyes. You cannot touch the mind and tell, okay, look, this is my mind. We can show the hand, this is my right hand, but not the mind. So infinite it is. Only based on thoughts and visions, we recognize my mind wants to do this, my mind wants to go there, I want to go. So now my mind wants to do, I want to do, both are same finally. So that's what happened. But what is this mind? That's what consciousness and energy combination, just for a clue to understand. It is not the final. So when we talk about the divine, it is not going to be the final answer, final conclusive, just for sake of understanding. Now this mind, if this mind, what we ourselves, has become a droplet of the ocean, for this droplet, that ocean is divine. Why? You see, your own mind, whatever it has imagined, the stories, characters, everything, they are all within the mind only. It cannot escape outside the mind. There is nothing outside the mind for those characters, for that story, whatever the mind has imagined, for that world the mind has imagined. So in the same way, in this world, which has been created by a higher consciousness, by a supreme that we try to call for identification only, so that I can make you aware, so that I can explain to you a little bit. I am repeating, though it may not be conclusive. So that is recognized as the divine. So now one more reason is there. This mind called you is always recommended to remember the divine or meditate on the divine. Now if you don't know the divine, how will you meditate? If I ask you, you meditate on this hand, you will focus on this hand. That's what it is. Now the master teaches, your own mind is the form of that divine. So if you can become aware of what your mind, you become aware of that divine. For that, you have to silence the mind first. It has become a chatterbox. It is always unconscious of whatever it is imagining. That needs to be stopped. That's why it has forgotten. That is how you have forgotten your real self, by becoming so preoccupied with your own imagination. First, put an effort to stop your imagination. Then automatically, the small mind goes, merges. Because whenever the mind becomes quiet, it starts going to its origin, that is the divine. Just like the droplet going back to the ocean. If it is into imagination, it comes out like this. So now your job, you try to make this quiet. If it is quiet, it merges one day with the self. And thus it becomes aware of what that is. That is the self-realization, what is known as. That is also the divine. But the droplet did not become the ocean. Ocean already existed. Simply the droplet merged with the mainstream ocean. The same way, individual does not become God. He merges with that self. When there is no seer and seen, when there is no devotee and God, they both disappear. One single self exists, which is recognized as beyond all imaginations, beyond all attributions, beyond all names and forms, etc., etc. Also, now you understand, in your mind, if you remember, adopt the meditation of that divinity like this, what you obtain, supreme peace. Supreme peace. There is nothing above that which can give you any other happiness. You are looking for happiness and peace, knowingly or unknowingly. If you don't have peace, you become miserable. If you have peace, you don't need anything. You remain contented. That's what you are looking for. You can get that. Is possible. Once for all, 24 hours, 12 months, it is possible for you to obtain that peace back. That is what you are looking for, and that's why you are not stopping anywhere in this materialistic world, in this object world. So that is what has happened. And that can wash away all your sins if you meditate on that by becoming silent. Sins means here not the sins that we have adopted in this world. Oh, you should not wear this dress, that is sinful thing. You should not talk like this, that is sin. These are not the things. Here, when you imagine, when you come out of yourself, you forget yourself. That is like you are committing a grave mistake. That grave mistake, in other words, is recognized as a sin. Sin means the gravest mistake that you have done. When you do a grave mistake, you can be putting yourself into an ugly situation. That can be washed away when you remember that divinity, when you meditate on that divinity. That grave mistake is rectified. You become one with yourself and you become aware of your real self. So that's what one can achieve. It is possible for anybody to achieve.
So, Baba, when you say that it is possible for anybody to achieve the self-realization, is it means it sounds, when you say it's very easy to achieve, does our prarabdha karmas or the habits of the mind are the major reason, or the ego is the major reason to pursue the sadhana? And because there are already so many distractions, so many hurdles, and I think biggest hurdle to achieve is my own ego. So does the destiny or the prarabdha plays the role? Because I see so many people coming onto this path. They come to the path and then they distract it and they goes away. So what it is, what is the reason? Is it my ego which distracts me?
Yeah. So now you all pay attention. Some of my opinions I will tell you. Destiny is going on. Prarabdha, what you call it. Above that, you have a will. Your ability to decide what you want in life. Once you decide, that becomes your prarabdha actually. Give me a moment, please. Sorry, Ambaji is my mom also. She reminds me I need to have a sip of water when I am coughing. Yeah, okay, I'm back now. So what I am trying to tell, this will you must exercise. Before exercising this will, you must not consider anything as a destiny. When the effort you have to put, you put your effort with all your willpower, with all your, that is what is dedication, discipline and patience, then you can achieve. Then also if nothing happens immediately, accept that result as the prarabdha so that you don't lose hope. Then try again. Try again. Don't give up until you don't achieve. That is what has to happen. So before putting an effort, before doing anything, you must not become lazy and casual. Oh, this is not in my prarabdha. This meditation is not for me. That means when you talk or think like that, you are not exercising your willpower. You are not using yourself to gather yourself. I must do it. I need this. You need food to sustain your body. You gather yourself in every way to earn a livelihood. If anybody tries to stop that also, you will feel irritated. If I don't work, how will I earn the livelihood? How will I eat my food? How will I live in this world? Even with your guru or God also you will get annoyed. You will do that one because you understand you need that one. For that you have a willpower. You don't wait for the prarabdha. If it is not in the prarabdha, let it be. You don't wait. You cannot wait. You will die. In the same way, once you understand the need, then you will do it. You won't give up. You become ready for everything. That means that is what is sacrificing the ego. Otherwise, the ego troubles. Oh, I cannot do this one. I don't want. No problem if I don't have self-realization. Then you don't have self-realization. If you don't want to do meditation, so this is not for me. Oh, thousands of thoughts come, it all trouble. Why is it coming thousands of thoughts? What has happened? Try to understand. What was the problem? How did it happen? How did the mind acquire such habits? How can that be stopped? There must be some way. Like the ancient sages also thought like that one. It is possible. So if you think like that one and learn it from the knowers of the truth, as Krishna recommends to Arjuna with these sentences, before death shall claim thee. See, all of you have to understand, this is one opportunity that we all have a physical body as the human body which has a well-developed brain. And one day this will die. Before that death of this body, we have time, we have an opportunity. Before death shall claim thee, Arjuna, go to the knowers of truth. You have to go to the knowers of that truth, who have achieved that truth themselves with all your humility. Not that you are going to command the master, not that you will decide who the master is, what the master is, what not the master is. You have to surrender. You have to become a student. Remember, you are the student and the one who has the knowledge is the master from whom you want to learn. He is your master. Bow before him. Accept whatever he talks, whatever he tells. Don't try to judge him. Don't try to teach him what he is supposed to talk. You want the knowledge. You want the practice. That's what Krishna tells Arjuna. Seeking their permission, putting such intelligent question and adopt such methods recommended by them and practice and achieve this truth to yourself. That's what is needed.
Baba, when you talk about the Krishna, Lord Krishna and Arjuna, because I think one of the most criticized one of our deity god is in Hindu scriptures is again Lord Krishna, because he accepted the dharma according to the circumstances and the conditions of the time. So here I wanted to ask you one thing about the same. Like Krishna never favored a dharma. Wherever things were wrong, he had the courage to call them wrong. He was never silent against any wrongdoing. So even when we come to this judgment, again, the mind plays the major role. And sometimes seeing our guru as a human being, we does this mistake often that we start judging our teacher. We start judging our God. We start judging our the people who have achieved the greatest, but still we judge, whereas we are no one, we are nothing in front of them. So means how to leave this habit of the mind to be judgmental and judge something which is much more higher than me.
You see, that's what happens in this world. As human beings, often we adopt double standards. One set of justice for me, another set of justice for the other. So that is what the ego crops up. I will judge. I will know what you are. Like, for example, you are sitting there. I am sitting here. I become annoyed with you. I get so angry with you. You don't even know. Nothing will happen to you. But my mind has become corrupted. I am the loser. I am losing that self-awareness. I am losing that supreme peace. So that is what has happened. Whereas Krishna taught, always try to look for a larger cause. One might be telling a lie. Sri Krishna told the lie. He taught Pandavas to tell a lie in the midst of the Mahabharata war. That was for a larger cause. They were fighting the evil and wicked. For that purpose, there was needed. He taught the purpose is important. When you look for a larger cause, that purpose becomes the dharma. Dharma means your duty. If you tell a lie and protect 10 lives, that telling a lie becomes your duty, dharma. You have done the right thing. No problem if the world is going to blame you. Many times we have to act like that as a guru. We want to bless anybody, but I might be talking something else in some other way. But we are blessing. But the world might blame me. And they might judge me that I am not this and I am not that. But it's okay. That's what Sri Krishna taught. No problem if somebody is going to blame me. But the one who has sided with the adharma, Bhishma, I will kill him. Even if the world is going to blame me that I took up the weapon. Because he had taken a vow that he will not take up weapon in the war. So he said, I will give it up, no problem. Simply because I have taken up the vow, I cannot see injustice happening. So like that he taught. This is the most difficult thing to decide. Your duty, your dharma. Always try to decide a larger cause. Pros and consequences. What can happen if we do like this? If we do not like this, what can happen? So that's what one can decide. Means if you practice meditation, you become better matured person. Your judgments will be, your analyzations will be of a more matured type. You will not be selfish when you are talking. When you have to think, you will not be selfish. When you behave, you will not be selfish at all. What is there for me to achieve now? I have achieved supreme peace. I can simply keep sitting there. I can sleep the whole day. I can sleep the whole night. Nobody is there to scold me. But yet, we want to help others. We want to create this awareness. Love each other. Honor each other. Live for each other. Oh, humans, first you. Don't be against each other. Don't try to judge in a rush. Wait and see. Wait and see the pros and cons. If you cannot understand, at least don't try to understand or don't try to judge in a rush. Wait and then see what happens. Learn. Have you learnt anything from the master? Learn something from the master and then try to see what it is. So like that, Krishna tried to teach this thing to Arjuna and through his teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Wonderful, that is, Bhagavad Gita is recognized as the highest Upanishad, the greatest teachings for this world and for self-realization also.
Baba, the last one, Baba, here, it's just coming out from your previous answer. When you say that, the judgment, does this judgment in this life, all those judgments we make leaves the impression on our mind also. Does they become somewhere the cause of the bondage for the next birth?
Yeah, definitely. Whatever judgments you make, whatever analyzations you make, if you have not practiced it spiritually, if you are not a master, you will allow yourself or your mind to absorb them as imprints. And they become the attitude of the mind, the habits of the mind. We call it acquired habits of the mind. That becomes the reason for your next birth also. When death happens, brain dies. The brain has nothing to reflect. Then the mind becomes detached. It means you become detached. But you are holding all the habits. And that's when it becomes detached. Based on the thoughts it is holding, it assumes next birth. That's what happens. So that's why you have to be careful when you make analyzations and judgments. If your mind becomes corrupt, you might become the victim. Right? Thank you very much, Ambaji. Some very wonderful questions came up, giving me an opportunity.
Following up on what you just were speaking on, I just want to see if I'm understanding it correctly. So the brain reflects thoughts and visions, and then the mind the mind then is the imagination piece, the creativity piece. And then if we take on those imaginations, then they rest in the mind as a pattern and a habit.
Yes, exactly. That's right. That's how the mind picks up habits and attitudes and patterns, what you call. You're right.
And when the mind in meditation, the brain's reflecting the visions and the thoughts, but the mind, those moments of stillness is the mind not taking on those visions and thoughts. It's just not taking them on.
Yeah, that is possible. Now mind is aware. Mind will not become a victim anymore. The brain's reflections cannot fool the mind anymore. Mind knows that it is only a reflection. It's only an imagined thing and need not be the truth. So it doesn't become a victim anymore. It remains quiet.
Thank you, Babaji.
Thank you, Babaji. My question is, before sitting to quiet the mind, are there activities that are helpful to quiet the mind?
Long breathing exercise. Take a long inhale and exhale. What is known as pranayama. 1 or 2 methods you can learn. We have explained in the app also of Shri Babaji. You can download for free, and in the beginning I have explained for the pranayamas also 1 or 2 simple methods you can learn that can be helpful to bring down the restlessness of the mind. Other than this, music, if you like, can be a very good therapy. So devotional and light music, that can be very soothing for the mind. So like this you can practice. And yeah, this is Jian is flashing it on the screen, Shri Babaji app. So that will be helpful for you.
I have it. Thank you. And use it.
Namaste, Babaji. It was very interesting discussion we had this morning. You were saying that consciousness, I think Gambaji was saying, consciousness and energy we talked about. So the nature of the mind is really, the mind is nothing but a bundle of thoughts. If you did not judge anything, and going into meditation and silencing the mind is becoming thoughtless. So practicing the silencing the mind will put you in touch with the divinity, which is the mind without the thoughts. So my question is that it is the nature of the mind to get attached. So how does one get over the attachment? I can understand the practice of the meditation, silencing the mind, but once you get back into the worldly things, and the nature of the mind is to get attached. So how do we get over that attachment?
I would say it is not the nature of the mind. Nature of the mind is to remain as the self in the quietness. But it has the ability to imagine. But the wrong thing that has happened, unnatural thing that has happened, is to get attached to its imaginations. It must be in the realization, in the awareness. I am just imagining. Must not become attached to those imaginations. Then it will absorb that as an imprint. It will hold it as a thought, acquired habit. Then it loses awareness of its real form and becomes attached to the thought all the time. Only the thought appears. That is when one tend to call the mind as bundle of thoughts. It is true. As long as there are thoughts only, we call it as the mind. The same thing is consciousness. The same thing is you, yourself. But when the thoughts disappear, that comes to be known as pure consciousness. Nearest terminology we could imagine for teaching, so that I can make you understand. Like consciousness, I have told, wherever you apply your consciousness, so if it gets applied to itself, it becomes aware of the self, then all thoughts end there. So that's what happens. Now this can be possible through the practice of meditation, and this must happen. You should not become attached to your thoughts. When you will get carried away by your own imaginations, and you may not know what the truth is. You will always believe what you have imagined.
So constantly thinking of your possessions or relationships or objects will cause that attachment. So it's better not to think of them as I, me, and mine, right?
Yeah, all the time it's not necessary. You have a job in the world, you decide you have to do this, and then stop it. You will be able to do this thing when you practice meditation.
God is defined as Sat Chit Ananda. So Chit is consciousness, Sat is the existence. Is existence full of energy?
Both. Existence is both energy and consciousness.
So Sat and Chit are interchangeable.
They both are same actually, not different. For sake of understanding in different stages, the same thing is mind, same thing is chitta, same thing is consciousness, all this same thing is prajna, all these things, words have been used, different stages. So with your husband you are a wife, with your son you are a mother, but you are the same. In the same way, different terminologies have been used, but the shape or the form doesn't change us actually. It's only in imagination.
Pranams Babaji. When you mentioned briefly about sin, so is it the attachment and the imprints that is sin per se? It's not any other outside of our own imaginations and thoughts?
You see, again you have to understand, instead of sin, it might be better to use the word a mistake, a grave mistake. Because sin, if we use it, many people might misunderstand it. Is it a sin to have an attachment?
Right.
You don't tell like that one. You can have an attachment. You can love somebody in this world. It's not a wrong thing. But it should not be troubleshooter for your consciousness. It should not corrupt your own mind for that sake. So that is what is grave mistake, a sin that is mentioned in spirituality. That is because you have forgotten your real self. That's what it is.
So are imprints also similar to sin, synonymous to sin?
Yeah, if you carry on the imprints, so then it corrupts the mind. Corrupts here means it engulfs your consciousness about yourself. A wheel happens, that is what is illusion. Now you don't remember your real self. So that is why if you keep on carrying the imprints all the time, that is troublesome. That is like becoming addiction to your own imagination. So anything, addiction is not good as recommended. You can utilize a mobile, cell phone or the computer, anything is no problem. But if you become addicted, you cannot remain without that all the 24 hours and you don't want to do anything else, don't want to greet or listen or learn anything else. That is wrong, right? Like that. Well, wonderful. I deeply appreciate admins, all of you for helping to conduct this session. Some very wonderful questions that came up. I appreciate you all.